When I turned 16, I struggled to decide on a part-time job. Uninterested in typical fast food or retail positions, I took my mom's advice to babysit professionally. I joined a local babysitting company, and although I often worked for different families, things took a strange turn with a single dad named Alyssa. He had specific instructions for me to leave a few minutes before his return at 10 p.m. Despite the odd request, I followed it. Throughout the evening, I did the usual babysitting activities with Alyssa, but the dad's peculiar instructions lingered in my mind. As the clock approached 10 p.m., I prepared Alyssa for bed and waited on the couch. However, the dad didn't arrive at the expected time. Concerned, I stayed, thinking it wasn't safe to leave Alyssa alone. When I tried calling him, he insisted I leave immediately. Feeling uneasy, I called the police. During the wait, the dad returned, denying ever asking me to leave early. The police found nothing suspicious, and I had to go home. The unsettling feeling persisted, knowing Alyssa might be alone with a father who seemed to be hiding something. His desperate attempts to conceal the truth raised concerns, leaving me worried about Alyssa's well-being. I babysit part-time and used to work for different sites before settling for Sitter City. This particular babysitting platform allows me to work flexible hours without a fixed weekly schedule. One Saturday morning, I accepted a job to babysit 2 young boys from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. I had a mid-shift at my regular job earlier that day, so the late-night job fit well into my schedule. Late-night babysitting gigs are usually great because the kids are in bed by 9 or 10, leaving me with ample time to relax until the parents return. Upon arriving 10 minutes early, I met the parents who introduced their shy boys, aged 5 and 6. The parents instructed me to ensure the kids were in bed by 9:30 before they left. The boys were engaged with cartoons, a common scenario for many kids I babysit. By 9:30, I successfully got the boys to bed without any issues. With 3.5 hours to myself, I put on headphones and started watching YouTube on my phone to stay awake. However, as the night progressed, I found it challenging not to fall asleep. Around 11, I was struggling to stay awake, so I decided to take a break. While sipping water in the kitchen, I heard a voice. It was the older boy calling for me. He seemed scared, claiming to have heard someone walking outside his room. I reassured him, thinking it was just a nightmare, and tucked him back in. As I returned downstairs, I heard slow and careful footsteps in the hallway upstairs. Terrified but determined to keep the boys safe, I ran upstairs, only to find no one. I checked the boys' rooms, and they were still asleep. Thinking it was my imagination, I went back downstairs. Shortly after, I heard sprinting footsteps, and this time, both boys were sitting up, looking terrified. I quickly got them into my car, locked the doors, and called the police and the parents. Despite searching everywhere, the police found no one and no signs of a break-in. The boys insisted they heard running footsteps outside their door, confirming that I wasn't imagining things. Needless to say, I never returned to babysit at their house. Growing up, I often took care of my younger brother. Being 5 years older, my parents trusted me to watch over him when they went out. They were cautious, never leaving us alone for extended periods. One weekend night, they left for a work party, assuring they'd return by 9. I was given the responsibility, making sure my brother was safe and didn't wander off. Despite our age gap, I tried to engage with him, but often pursued my own activities. That night, as I relaxed in my first-floor bedroom, the doorbell rang. Surprised since my parents had only been gone for an hour, I approached the front door. A man outside gestured to meet him. Our house had 2 front doors, and I cautiously opened the main one, keeping the gate door shut. The man, seemingly harmless, inquired about my parents. After a brief conversation, he left and I returned to my room, almost forgetting the encounter. Later, as I made food and entertained my brother, I heard the front door open. Alarmed, I rushed to find the same man stepping inside, having unlocked the metal door. In shock, I confronted him as he tried to interact with my brother. Swiftly, I protected my brother, demanding the man leave. Though initially friendly, his demeanor changed when I mentioned calling the police. My parents and the police arrived, but the man had already left. We couldn't identify him from the neighbor's doorbell camera footage. It became clear he had been observing us, plotting something sinister. Fortunately, after that unsettling day, he never attempted anything further.